Mika spent the following day mostly thinking about exactly which crew member to spend some quality time with next. Getting to know Mia was a good start, but it was unlikely that the rest of the crew members would have the instant hots for her, which would somewhat ease getting them to spend time with her. And ordering them to spend time with her just felt wrong, like it would defeat the purpose altogether. And then which of the crew members to befriend next was also a concern. Her first thought was Dolus. He was the first mate after all. It was important that she knew him well. But quite frankly, she was beginning to wonder if that was a rabbit hole she wanted to jump down. After all, Dolus was a member of the Mosaic compartmentalization specialists. There's no telling how he might react to trying to befriend him on a personal level, how it might affect him during work. And honestly, she was a bit frightened by what she might find out. What if during his private life, Dolus was sensitive, emotional, like a psychologist or woman? Honestly, the concept that he would be like that weirded her out to a strange extent. It would simply be a complete and utter contradiction of his physical form, and thus throw her for a loop completely. So though she found it unlikely, it still gave her the shivers to think about. So Mika continued to ponder the question as she went through the process of going through the daily requests for materials and time off requests and things of that nature. In the old days, she believed they called it paperwork, and she called it mind-numbing tedium. It was while pondering over these questions that suddenly a level blue alert was sounded as the color of the lighting in the room changed and the intercom system in her office activated. Captain, we have a situation. It appears that a distress beacon has been activated. Someone's calling for help from very nearby. We've taken a deep space scan of the region that the signal's coming from, and we've picked up energy readings matching that of weapons fire, heavy weapons fire, and 2 ship readings. It appears they're still fighting. What do you want us to do, Captain? Hold course. I'm on my way to the bridge, Mika replied, as she rapidly placed down the data pad in her hands, hopping out of her chair and rushing through the doors into the bridge, quickly making her way to the captain's seat. I need information. Who's signaling for help? Where? Distance to the target. Everything you know, Mika said, now in a serious state of mind, no longer bogged down with paperwork or meaningless questions. This felt much more like her zone of comfort. Well, that's the problem, ma'am. According to the readouts, there's no indication of what ship is sending the signal. We can't tell what planet they're from, what race they are, and what type of ship they're in. It seems to be a base-level distress call, with no extra detail included. Which means one of 2 things. Either 1, the ship sending out the distress call is some sort of low-tech or base-level ship. One that doesn't have the ability to send a complex distress call. Or option number 2, they have the capability, they're just not including the information. Which means that it would most likely be a trap. It's not uncommon for pirates and things of that nature to send fraudulent distress calls, lure people in, and then attack them. We could always ignore it, Captain. We're not under any ordinance that demand that we respond to the distress call. No, you're right, we're not, Mika replied. But that doesn't mean we're not going, she said as she reached over, tapping a few console commands on the control pad next to her. All command crew to the bridge. We're heading into a possibly dangerous situation. All hands on deck. All off-duty personnel suspend activities until further notice. Tell me, what's our distance to the target? Mika said after turning off the transmission. According to the sensors, at our optimal light speed, we could reach there in probably about 20 minutes. 3 if we go full tilt. Let's make it 5 minutes, Mika said. Activate ship transformation. State, cannibal ship. Are you sure, Captain? That's not our most combat-ready form. That's no longer a concern, Mika replied. With our increased size, weaponry, and armor, most ships aren't going to be a match for us. Even if we're in a different state, we'll still outgun them by a mile. And we always have our dual engines to fall back on. Even with a more limited combat status, they won't be able to keep up with us with the speed we can travel at. So if it's a trap and their numbers are too great, we can always run for the hills. Initiate transformation. Once the transformation is complete, lock course to the distress signal and jump maximum light speed. Yes, Captain, he said, as he began to flutter about the controls, as did the other members of the crew, beginning to initiate the transformation of the outer form of the ship, as the slight shuddering of the interior began to jolt one way and then the other, as all of the parts moved into shape and position outside the ship, and one after another the bridge crew began to arrive. Dolus, Obadal, and Vermi all showed up with bells on. Well, what kind of madness are we running into today, Captain? Obadal said as he took the weapons post. Distress call could be a trap. If it is, it could also be a good meal. Some predators hoping to lure in some prey and instead just get a bigger predator. Sounds like fun. My trigger finger's been getting itchy. Oh, maybe we'll need a boarding party this time. If so, I call dibs. Don't get ahead of yourself. It might not come to that, Obadal. Statistically, this is too much of a risk. We're under no obligation to travel to this distress beacon, and there's no guarantee that there'll be any benefit in it for us, Dolus said, as he began flitting through his screen, briefing himself up on the situation. Of course a Mosay says that. I'm with the captain. If someone's in trouble and actually needs some help, it'd be kinda shitty of us not to show up. I know there's been more than one occasion I've been working on a ship that sent off a distress signal that other ships just passed right on by. It would have been real nice if a heavily armed battle-ready spaceship showed up to save our asses. But instead, we just got looted blind and left with nothing but a sad look on our faces and empty pockets when we made port. And we were lucky that we left with our lives. So yeah, I'm down for going. And whoever they are, I hope they can fly. I've been itching for some new chances to work on my ship-to-ship maneuvers. Okay, Vermi, Mika replied. Is the transformation complete? Yes, Captain. The last of the shifting outer elements are coming into place now. The cannibal ship state is now in full lockdown. Energy transfer rate activated and holding steady. All weaponry, shielding, and armaments at full function. Good. Take us to light speed. Really open her up. I want to get there as fast as possible. Let's see what's hiding itself on the other side of this door, Mika said, leaning back into her captain's chair and crossing one leg over the other. Regardless of what it is, it should be fun, she said, as exovol jumped into light-speed travel, racing its way towards the location of the distress beacon, with everyone on board wondering what was going to happen next, and who was sending off this distress beacon. Was it even real? They'd find out soon enough.